Professor Olanrewaju Awosika-Fapetu joins us this morning. She's CEO, Olawoyin Awosika School of Innovative Studies. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime we have to talk about education, it's you I want to talk to. I mean, I'm here. Confession.
Well,
Confession time.
Thank you so much.
First of all, what do you make of this ranking? What does it change, really?
Well, this gives us the overall result for each institution. This was based on 18 criteria that they judged. But then when you dig deeper, there are 24 of our universities that feature in this study on a subject-by-subject basis. And they did exceptionally well. There's UNN, UNIBEN, OAU, all of those that you would expect. And it actually gladdens my heart, because when you make that list, it means, and the 24 were judged on two major things: research and the faculty members, the lecturers. So it means there's improvement in the quality of research, there's improvement in the quality of teachers. So, and for improvement to be available for 24 universities to put them on such a scale, it means they have funding.
Wow.
Because I know when I was in the system, funding was the main thing we needed. If you gave the lecturer or professors money, they will attend conferences, they will make presentations. That's, I mean, it's publish or perish.
Yeah.
So for you to be promoted, you have to publish. And for you to be able to publish, you have to have money, because you have to travel, you have to stay at the hotel, you have to do the research itself. So I think it's a big deal.
It's also instructive. I have to make a note of it, that the universities you have cited are all public. UNIBEN,
Yes.
UNILAG,
Yes.
OAU, and the rest of them. How instructive is that?
UI again.
As I was saying, instructive. UI also on the list, just so that some people don't come for me.
Since you're number one. Yeah, again, I don't know why you would point it out that they are public universities. That's what we want. If our public universities are showcasing our academics, then it's a good thing. But I know what you're looking for. You need the non-public universities.
No. I just wanted to know whether they were also part of the list of the institutions considered.
Yes, they were. I mean,
okay.
Covenant University, was also part of it. But you see, when the publish or perish thing happens, it's more pronounced for public universities than for private. I know that private universities, especially in their research areas, which I think is also good, they have sort of mixed certain types of research such that it is not solid research as you find it in the public sector. So they allow consultation, they allow entrepreneurial research, so some of this might have mixed up the private sector in this sort of
ranking. I see that the Covenant University also ranked in the 501 and to 600 band for social science.
Right. So what does this really do for these universities? It places them on a high pedestal, I must say. But what does it do for them internally? Does this improve teaching? Does it improve output? Does it improve student outcomes? I mean, how do these rankings,
absolutely
impact?
Those are the things that should be happening in our universities, because when you do research, you contribute to the body of knowledge, and in your contribution, you come back to the classroom, and hopefully your research is in your teaching area. So you come back into the classroom, and you use the results of your research to teach your students. So it makes them better. It improves the curriculum. It even technology, when it has impact on research, it helps help the students, which helps build a more robust learning. So we're not using 1960 knowledge anymore. Now we have up-to-date knowledge. I have done research on it. This is what I found out. So you discuss with your children, with your students, and they get better. So it's increased research is supposed to help the university. It helps the professor himself, and it also helps the student learning.
I'm curious, Prof, about so here we are, with this whole rankings and everything. I'm just wondering what policies, what changed? Were there policies, were there programs? What are the things that we had to tinker with to get here,
Well, I don't know that anything changed.
Okay.
I think what we now have is, again, I'm going to go to funding, because without money, we can't do...
Oh, we have a lot of wishful thinking without
research or anything. So I'm going to say somehow the universities that have finding funding. I know TET Fund did a big to-do a couple of years back. There's an increase in alumni funds generation.
Yeah.
So the old students are giving back. I know our universities are now not just sitting and waiting for the government, which we all know it's, it is what it is. So they're finding funding for themselves, and so they're doing this research, and it's coming back, and it's good for them.
Are you hoping, okay, maybe I should put it this way, what can we expect given what I can call a new vista? Now the federal government has promised that a 40% increase for salaries of university teachers, lecturers, I would call them. There's the student loan system that is also very, very active now. So students have to pay, and they can pay. So that means that a few more people can now go into universities. So what do we expect to change? Well, with this, patronage might increase, but what else do we expect to change, particularly from the universities themselves?
Well, I think it can only get better, because if with what we have now, we're producing this much, then it means if we have that 40% increase and the student loans, making life better for the students, if we have all of this happening, then it means we can do more of this. That it means that more universities can get on the ranking, for example. So it's increased infrastructure for the universities, will happen. They will, improve libraries, improve laboratories, improve just about anything that is student-centered in the university as a result of this increased funding.
Right, and does this, bring about a situation where parents will say, aha, I told you, public universities are doing much better. No, 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 no private university for you, it must be public. What kind of competition, do you think this will breed? Healthy or a tussle for which one is better?
Well, I think it's, we're going to get a synergistic effect here. Whether you like it or not, private universities also depend on public university lecturers.
Right, yeah.
So you go from OAU and you go to FUNAB and you teach them agriculture. I want to, bring in, what he was talking about, Well, incidentally, my grandson just got into FUNAB, for agriculture. So students are going to university for agriculture.
Great.
So it's so you go from FUNAB and you go to Bells and you teach there a little bit, and so whatever they're gaining in the public sector is also spilling over to the private sector. So I don't know that there's a keen competition among them. If your scores, at least this is what we experienced recently, if your scores get you into a public university and you apply and you get in, good luck. And if you look at your scores in JAMB or WAEC and you find out that, well, I can't go into a public university, then you find a private university that would accept you. So I don't know that there's a preference for public university, mainly because they have the quality, whether we like it or not. I remember when my brother was looking for university for his son, and he went to Ghana, they went everywhere, and he looked at the ranking of those universities in Ghana and looked at the ones in Nigeria, and he said, boy, you ain't coming here. You're going to OAU. And, he first class OAU accounting. And he did very well. And, and we know the quality of education that he got.
Yeah.
So there may be preferences to say, okay, I don't trust the Nigerian universities. I want my child to go to Ghana. But if you do your research right, you'll know that even at its worst, the Nigerian university is still better.
I have to note again, Prof, that I could only see on that list 3 state universities. Forgive me, it's just my eyes that are seeing. It's not like I was looking for it. And I also make a note that of all the private universities that we have, I could only notice about 3 or thereabout. I'm not sure whether that's the full list, but I'm just, saying my own. What do I know? Let me come back to the conversation. There are some other ancillary things, experiences that students have in schools.
Yeah.
You spoke about the infrastructure. The decrepit look of some of our infrastructure, one wonders exactly what it is. You've spoken to the academics, and that's amazing, But there are those who have also spoken to the kind of people we produce when the environment, their learning environment, looks the way it does. Because if you raise them out of that kind of environment, you have not really elevated their minds, you have only elevated their brains, and I think they are 2 different things. So that is one. Then the second is the environment itself, the student environment. There have been, even though we don't talk about it much now, but I don't know how serious issues of cultism and those other things are, which scares some parents from wanting their children to go into, some public institutions and all of that. So what can you say about that?
All right. The issue of infrastructure, I hope it would get better. I hope the funding that, TED Fund and the federal government and, the likes are planning, and that they've actually already started disbursing, will change the issue of infrastructure. However, what I also noted with our graduates is they don't stop when they finish their university education. They then go either into industry or, channel themselves to areas that will help them hone their skills better. So even if you had a computer science major, if you were a computer science major, and you've never seen a computer before, which used to be the case. I hope it's still not. I've had a lot of people, come to work for me that I showed how to turn on a laptop when they started.
Computer science graduate.
I'm sorry.
Computer science graduate.
Yes.
Wow.
As you were saying.
So, but that's I'm hoping has changed. Everybody carries a laptop right now, so I hope they're getting there. So what we need to do is to make sure, that even though the 4 years doesn't get you completely the things you need, let's have, skills acquisition for graduates, so that, they can go in.
I'm wondering how that can really happen more effectively, because the NYSC program has skill acquisition, skill development embedded in the program, whether or not they do it well. I thought that was the plan for the CS or CDS, what they call it,
yes,
one that they go for once every week. I thought that's what it was. No. It's about. But
I have
community development scheme.
Youth corpers in my house.
Oh.
It's not happening. It's not happening there. So and this students don't mind. These graduates don't mind. They will pay for something to help them make, their skills better. And so we still get these computer science majors. They come out, they're not quite up to what we expect. They plug themselves into the private sector, get the training that they need, and then they are stellar performers in whichever organization that they choose to work for. So we're not going to just relax and until that time when our universities are going to have, the required infrastructure, we're not going to relax. We're going to say, okay, just get this 4-year degree. Everybody thinks you should have it. So get the 4-year degree and then go augment yourself with whatever skills that you need. Now, cultism. If cultism was still as bad as it used to be, I don't know that we'll be silent on it. You guys will not be silent on it, I hope.
Well, it's not everything that is prominent that we report. Sometimes the idea is not to make the nation look bad or always paint only gory pictures, But
yeah,
I mean,
but then again, you see, it's a question of how you raise your child. Will your child go to university and then go join a cult? You can assess yourself. Have I instilled the kind of discipline in these children that will cause them to now be looking for, places where they would, sign with their blood? And so home training sometimes will dissuade them, from joining a cult. So that's about what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's still pretty much a lot to unpack. So how does this help, our universities, align and collaborate with global partners to still improve on some of these things that they're doing that earn them the top spots in the first place, instead of having our students, well, some will still say they want to have an education abroad, but if you can have those collaborations such that we have quality, inside, just as the same quality that you're looking for elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, I do believe there's a lot of collaboration going on. I know Carnegie Mellon is doing something with the university in Nigeria. I know University of Maryland is doing something with the university in Nigeria. So they also want that collaboration, as Nigerian universities are also looking, abroad, to get the collaboration. So it's a fertile ground for universities right now, to encourage their faculty members to reach out to institutions abroad, and for those in turn to reciprocate with some sort of whether it's research, whether it's teaching and learning. You have students here in Nigeria having classes, especially with these days with Zoom and so on. So we have students in Nigeria having classes with their counterparts in the U.S. So that is even happening even more right now.
Absolutely. Well, to whom much is given, much is required. So we have given UI the #1 university. Unilag is second. I'm not even going to look to my left right now because I can see eyes burning in my head.
Seriously.
But I want to challenge you with this question, ma'am. You said that one of the things that helped with these rankings is
funding,
research. I want to ask about the kind of research we should be looking forward to or targeting. The relevance of those research stuff to us. One, when I was growing up, I understand that most of the ministers of the Babangida days and the rest of them came from the university systems. Another thing is, I've heard Professor, the DG of NAFDAC, I forgot her name right now, saying repeatedly, repeatedly, that look, our low-hanging fruit is phytomedicine. That was in the days of COVID, because we had a challenge of medical sovereignty, so to speak. And she was saying, look, if we're going to get anything right, it is in ensuring phytomedicine, because we have so many things in Nigeria, so many things we can use to heal ourselves, so to speak. We don't really need imported pharmaceuticals. But according to her, the gap is in research, where research meets the market, where research meets phytomedicine, the claims. Okay, shea butter is good for this. What's the research to back it up? Dogoyaro, I don't know the name now, is good for this. What's the research that backs it up and all of that? So do you think we can begin to look for such relevant research to our sovereignty in various spheres of influence that we have in our country?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no point in doing research just to get a promotion. You have to do research in areas that are beneficial to the school, to the students, and to the country. And so what we probably need to do with the phytomedicine gap is to now put a sort of incentive in for the lecturers to say there's funding, but the funding is only available for
this purpose.
And so we stage, whichever areas of our lives or of this nation that we want research. And so that would even be very beautiful, because then you have the town and gown coming together to say, what does the town need?
Yeah.
Let the gown go find out,
Yeah.
how we can make this happen. So, absolutely.
Interesting perspective that you just brought in now, too, because that's exactly what there's a corporate or a CSR project of one oil company. I don't want to mention it. Call it the Nigeria Prize. For literature, for science, they come up with research stuff and all of that. So, if you had to, and I would like you to challenge the 24. I know we have more than 24 universities in Nigeria.
Oh gosh, no. I mean,
challenge
270
exactly.
something.
Challenge at least the 24 that made it to this list. What they must improve if Nigeria's ranking is to rise. Because I remember people tell us that the UCH in Ibadan, before some people start boasting again, was the medical tourism destination of some people in time past.
Yes.
What do we need to do? What must they do to get us back there?
Okay. Right now, STEM is big.
Yeah.
So, and it's always been big, but it's even bigger now because of, some of the things that you talked about. So I would say increase research in, I should not do what I tell my students not to do. STEM stands for science,
technical education, and things like that.
Technical, engineering,
and mathematics.
And, mathematics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is important. Technology, especially AI, is important. That is the future, and that is where we're headed, whether we like it or not. So, science and technology basically is where the research has to be in, and then of course in the medical, and even though we don't like to talk about it, mental health is very, very important because of our culture and the way we deal with, people with mental challenges. And so we've got to do a lot of research in those areas. And then the plant technology, that examines what kind of plant does what and how we can register them and make sure that what we say they're doing is what they're doing. That is, I can't remember the English word for it. But basically, find out what dongoyaro does. Find out what.
I think the university lecturers should do the research for us.
Yeah. So, those are areas that I would take a look at, because I remember someone said, this has been a while back, that Africa is sitting on a multi-trillion dollars plant market, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
That everything that we have is supposed to be healing something, making someone comfortable, you know, basically changing our lives,
Well, Prof,
and we don't
I'm
know
not sure
it.
about not knowing it, because when we're talking about agriculture, someone made a comment that laziness is part of our problem. Maybe we do know it, but you're just too lazy to want to get up and do something about it.
Actually, well, Prof has a point in the sense that if we knew it, why is it not documented? Then let me know. Let's not start another discussion. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time this morning. Professor Olaiwaji Abiola Awosika-Fapetu is CEO Olawoyin Awosika School of Innovative Studies. Once again, we appreciate your time and perspectives today.